Y'all ready for this? Let's go.
Welcome back to the Ben James Smith podcast. Today I want to talk about something very specific within the Rise Capital model, the type of developments we target, and why we've made a deliberate decision to focus on smaller housing schemes, typically houses and townhouses, not apartments, and usually schemes of 20 units or fewer. Because at first glance that might seem like a constraint, but in reality it's where a significant part of the opportunity sits. If you look at the UK development market broadly, you'll see two dominant areas. At one end, you have large national house builders delivering hundreds of units at scale. At the other end, you have smaller developers operating in fragmented, often inconsistent ways. But there's a gap in the middle, and that gap is where we've chosen to focus. And that focus is the SME development opportunity. The type of schemes we target are typically houses and townhouses, smaller sites, often under 20 units. For example, the base case project at Marketplace in Swetham is a mix of conversion and new build, delivering 18 townhouses over an 18-month cycle, 12 months to build and 6 months to sell. This is exactly the kind of opportunity we're targeting repeatedly, not because it's the only type of development, but because it sits in a part of the market that is often overlooked. Large house builders don't typically operate at this level. Their model is built around large land banks, long planning cycles, hundreds of units. Small sites simply don't move the needle for them. So even when opportunities exist, they're often ignored, which means less competition, more pricing inefficiency, and better entry points. For a £50 million fund, this segment is ideal because it allows us to deploy capital across multiple projects, diversify risk, maintain shorter project cycles, and operate with repeatable structure. Instead of concentrating capital into a few large developments, we spread it across multiple smaller ones, and that changes the risk profile significantly. There's another very practical advantage to this strategy: buildability. Smaller schemes are significantly easier to tender. There is a much wider pool of contractors capable of delivering them, which means more competitive pricing, greater availability, reduced dependency on a small number of large contractors, and that directly impacts delivery risk. This is where it becomes powerful, because we're not looking for one-off opportunities, we're looking for repeatable opportunities. The Marketplace project is used as a base case for forecasting, not because it's unique, but because it represents the type of scheme we intend to replicate across the fund. That's key. This is not find one great project. This is repeat a proven structure across multiple projects. When you combine smaller site sizes, shorter timelines, diversified deployment, competitive build environments, you create a structure that can deliver consistent outcomes. The base case project shows a projected blended fund return of around 19.7% per annum, combining both debt and equity returns. But more importantly, it shows how those returns are generated through structure, not speculation. When you look at the base case project, what becomes very clear is that this is not just about the return to the fund. It's about how the platform itself generates income. From a project like Marketplace, which delivers 18 townhouses over an 18-month cycle, Rise Capital generates revenue at multiple stages of the project lifecycle. There are upfront structuring and acquisition fees, which in this case total just over £80,000. There is an interest margin earned throughout the project, approximately 2% per annum, which equates to around £370,000 over the life of the project. There is an exit fee on completion, and then there is a share of the development profit, in this case approximately 30%, which equates to just over £370,000. When you bring all of that together, the total revenue to the platform from a single project is in the region of £850,000 to £900,000. And that's important because it shows that this is not a model dependent on a single outcome. It's a model that generates income at the start, throughout the project, and at exit. And when that model is repeated across multiple projects, that's where the platform economics become very powerful. It's also worth addressing what we don't do. We deliberately avoid large apartment-led schemes because they often involve longer timelines, restricted sectional releases, more complex planning, higher build risk, more exposure to market cycles. That doesn't mean they don't work, but they don't fit the model we're building. And that's an important distinction. So when you look at the Rise Capital model, the focus on smaller housing schemes is not a limitation, it's a deliberate strategy. It allows us to operate in a part of the market that is less competitive, more flexible, and more repeatable. And ultimately, that's what we're building, not a pipeline of random projects, but a system that can deliver the same type of opportunity again and again. Thanks for listening. And remember, the best opportunities aren't always the biggest. They're the ones that can be repeated consistently at scale. I'll see you in the next episode.